Good afternoon, everyone. We're actually on Swiss time. We're starting early. It's such a pleasure to be here. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the MISC Chalet at the World Economic Forum, Davos 2024. It's a pleasure to be here next to such remarkable individuals. Obviously, starting with His Excellency Minister Joubert, whom you probably all know. But we have also three amazing youth with us, Dana, Hussein, and Salim, who will be introducing themselves shortly and tell you what they do, why they do it, and what the future holds. I'd like to briefly speak about Saudi. I've been going to Saudi myself for the last 6 years. In fact, the very first entity I was in touch with in Saudi was MISC. When I came to Saudi for the first time, it was to launch the very first international accelerator, the 500 MISC accelerator. So the first touch point I ever had with Saudi was the MISC office. In fact, Dima Liahia was my first touch point there, who became a very close friend since. And it's a pleasure. So thank you so much for having me and speaking here. I really value this a lot, and it's been a beautiful journey. In fact, as many of you probably know, when COVID started, most countries went completely on hold, and I can speak from the venture capital space. Saudi was the only country in the world that really kept on innovating, pushing forward. Emerging managers in the venture capital space were educated, funds were started, startups were launching. In fact, now it's really impressive what happened in the last 6 years. 6 years ago, when I first came for the first time, and there wasn't really much of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Now you go to Saudi and you can almost touch the energy. It's so palpable. It's just everybody's dreaming big, everybody's creating, everybody's working on something. It's a truly inspiring place. Who of you, non-Saudis, please, has been to Saudi? Okay, so the rest hasn't yet. I really urge you to go visit. This is your first, so to speak, view into Saudi. Okay, Your Excellency, I'd like to bring you into the conversation, and if you maybe, especially for those who have not been to Saudi yet, if you could briefly, well, maybe not so briefly, but talk about the Vision 2030. What does it mean? Why was it created? And yeah, what should the rest of the world know about the Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia?
Vision 2030 is a remarkable vision. It's a plan, it's an ambition, it's a revolution. It's the brainchild of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman. Saudi Arabia is a country that is blessed with a lot of resources. Saudi Arabia has a geographic location in the middle of 3 continents, Asia, Europe, and Africa. Saudi Arabia has 3 of the most important waterways around it, the Suez Canal, Bab al-Mandab, Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Arabia is blessed with natural resources. We have large oil reserves. We're the largest exporter of petroleum. We are one of the largest investors in the world through our sovereign wealth fund. We are the home of Mecca and Medina, so the center of the Islamic world. 1.7 billion Muslims pray in the direction of Saudi Arabia 5 times a day. We have a young population, we have an educated population, and Vision 2030 was designed to unleash the potential of Saudi Arabia. It was designed to empower youth, empower women. It was designed to open up new areas for investment, whether it's mining, whether it's technology, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, you name it. It was designed to attract investment, both domestic and foreign. And in order to do so, you need certain prerequisites. You need an efficient and transparent government. You need a world-class education system. You need a clean environment. You need clean water, clean air. You need to empower youth. You need to empower women. You need a culture of tolerance and moderation and acceptance and science. You need entertainment. You need recreation. You need quality of life. That is Vision 2030. And it's about unleashing the potential of Saudi Arabia and unleashing the potential of Saudi youth. 70% of our population is under the age of 32. They're highly educated, they're highly motivated, they have dreams, they have hopes, they have ambitions. And the idea is to get out of the way and let them realize their hopes, dreams, and ambitions, and in the process, lift our country to greater heights. And this is what you've seen. We have seen an explosion in Saudi Arabia in terms of innovation. The first woman from the Islamic world to be an astronaut is a Saudi. We have seen Saudi chefs perform at the global stage, Saudi athletes, both boys and girls. We see Saudi designers, Saudi artists exploding on the global scene. We see Saudi businesses excelling. We see Saudi scientists excelling. So we see this. We see investors coming into Saudi Arabia. We see fund managers looking for opportunities in Saudi Arabia. The ecosystem we talked about in terms of innovation and technology, we have now become a center in the world for this. Everybody wants to come to where the energy is, where the optimism is, where the dynamics are, and where the opportunities are. And it is an incredible time for Saudi Arabia and for Saudis. And what is driving this is, yes, the vision and the leadership that set the stage for this takeoff, but it's also driven by our young people who have the energy and the optimism and the hard work, and who have excelled and distinguished themselves and put themselves on the map and put Saudi Arabia with them on the map. So thank you to all of the young people here. I guess anyone who's younger than me, I classify as young. So thank you for your enthusiasm, for your commitment, for your hard work. You truly, truly make all of us proud. And we can't wait to see what the future will bring. And I'm certain that we will go from one success to another.
Thank you so much. Indeed, I think there aren't many places in the world that are so inspiring at the moment, where you really feel this growth potential. Like you said, I mean, startups, everything, unicorns. 6 years ago, there were no startups really. Now you recently had another unicorn, Tamara, in the country, a fintech unicorn. So really, yeah, it's beautiful. And we have 3 of the youth that the minister just mentioned with us on stage. In fact, Dana lived abroad and then heard about the Vision 2030 and realized I actually really want to go home and give my skills back. So Dana, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your science background, and what you do now at KAUST University.
Thank you for that introduction, Vera. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with all of you. So I'd like to start off with saying I'm currently an assistant professor and running a lab at the interface between material science and bioengineering. And I actually left Saudi at a very young age to pursue education at around 13 years old. And what's really interesting is the intention was always to go back and serve my community. What makes it quite interesting is the moment that I realized I wanted to come back home was in fact when I was in one of the most cutting edge locations in the world to do research and development. I was doing my postdoctoral research at MIT. And it was at that moment in time that I realized I want to go back home. I could feel the energy of the youth in Saudi, and I wanted to be part of that transformation. And so, you know, with the vision came many opportunities for women, not just in the workforce, but in leadership positions in the workforce. And that's how I applied, and I got a faculty position at the University of King Abdullah University of Science and Technology in KAUST. And what we do there is we do research, and it's quite interesting that the research we do in Saudi Arabia, in fact, all this energy is very beautifully focused towards one of many key national priorities in Saudi, including health and wellness and sustainability. And I'd love to talk about maybe 2 of those key initiatives and national priorities. Sustainability is a big one. In fact, Saudi Arabia has the largest reefscape restoration project in the world. If you haven't heard of it, the Shusha project. And KAUST, my university, partnering with NEOM, we are actually not just restoring the coral reefs, but we're looking at the coral reefs that we have, and we're trying to make them more robust and more resilient against extreme conditions brought by global warming. And how do you do that? Actually, you just take some probiotics. So the same thing that we take with our yogurt, if you actually give that to coral reefs, they're able to become much more resilient. Then I'd like to talk about my field, which is health and wellness. In fact, Saudi Arabia is developing the technologies that are going to help us accelerate this paradigm shift in healthcare from the old reactive approaches in medicine towards much more proactive precision medicine, patient-centric approaches. And how we do that in my lab is we develop those miniaturized point-of-care devices that allow you to basically detect the earliest biomarkers or signals of disease from biofluids, so from a saliva or from blood sample. You apply it onto the device itself, and it gives you those early indicators. And the real idea here is not only making healthcare accessible, but increasing our healthy lifespan, which aligns very beautifully with one of the main directives of Vision 2030. So our ultimate goal is not just healthcare, but we also want to minimize our healthcare carbon footprint. So what we do in our lab very nicely is we leverage our expertise in materials and make sure that we're choosing materials that enable solutions that are not only going to develop solutions that are healthier for our future, but also make sure our future is equitable for all and much more greener and sustainable. So it's a little bit about what we do.
Thank you so much, Dana. I'm truly excited to have you on the panel. Dana is one of those remarkable women who is challenging the conventional stereotypes, who's changing this outdated narrative we have often in the media. So it's really wonderful to have these remarkable people and for you to hear the stories from them. Hussein, I'd like to move to you. Hussein also comes from maybe a sector that you would not necessarily associate with Saudi Arabia. Would you like to tell us a bit about your background, and how you got into what you do?
Sure. I'm a rower. I started rowing during my graduate studies at Cambridge and committed to it full-time upon graduating in 2017. I competed at the Tokyo Olympics, reaching the quarterfinals, and yeah, it's been quite a journey since. We founded a rowing federation, the Saudi Rowing Federation, in 2019. Honestly, I'm very excited about this movement for a couple of reasons. The first being, and what I've seen firsthand, this applies to me and others, is the profound impact that sport can have in transforming lives. And I'll give you an example. Someone who signed up to the team in 2019 came through the doors. He was sort of underweight, wasn't too sure of himself, and lacked sort of direction in life. And today, fast forward to today, if he walked through those doors, you would not recognize him. A complete transformation in his life. He's much more confident. He's gained, a good, healthy amount of meat on him, and he's a lot more confident and sort of sure of himself. He's got purpose in life, and no doubt these skills can, transcend beyond sport. And this is what's really interesting. Specifically, it aligns with the Quality of Life program under Vision 2030. So seeing this in person, and this applies to me as well. I was, not very confident before. This has definitely given me a purpose in life. It's, it aligns with the Quality of Life program, which is under Vision 2030. So seeing these life transformations in person is really meaningful to be a part of. And the second reason is the the movement is already led by the youth. Our CEO and our head coach are both under 35. The athletes are ambassadors of the sport and the federation. They help with the marketing, the recruitment, and just the general development of the federation. So it really does feel like genuinely a youth movement. And honestly, there's nothing more rewarding than being part of it.
I think important to remark as well that Saudi Arabia is the largest country without a lake or a river. So be a professional rower is quite impressive.
Yeah, exactly. The largest country without a natural river.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Salim, I'd like to move to you. You've been the G20 youth representative. You also represent a sector that people outside of Saudi maybe don't necessarily associate with Saudi. You are in the social impact field. You are an amazing ambassador for Saudi. I know everywhere you go, you cook food. In fact, here while we were preparing, Salim made some Saudi sweets and fed us before this panel. That's why we're so energetic. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Vera. It's very difficult to match the energy that everyone has had here. I owe it to the date that I gave because I didn't have one of them. So my energy would be a bit down. Salim al-Sharari, I was born and raised in the northern side of Saudi Arabia, a region called Al Jof that people usually wouldn't heard about unless it's the weather forecast. Last year, as you mentioned, I was the head of the Y20 delegation. I was very honored and privileged to actually take that role and responsibility along with 4 other amazing Saudi delegates. One of them is with us today, Saud al-Mlehi. And what I'm doing today is actually working for the Public Investment Fund in Saudi Arabia. And aside from the investment mandate and the core things that I do, I'm mostly excited about leading the cultural transformation program within one of the divisions there. And what excites me about it is that we try to change the behaviors, mindsets, and how people, especially the youth of them, act within the organization, and try to get the best out of them for them to actually grow at a personal level, contribute to their organization, and contribute to the success of Vision 2030. And the reason I actually do that is because I myself, coming from Al Chouf, being raised a very ordinary way, our nation, our leadership, and its people had offered me so much opportunity that it's a pity and shame on me if I don't try to extend the hand of support and pay back for the people that have helped me or might have been in my position when I was 5, 6, 10 years ago.
You did mention the story about cooking for other people that you shared with me before, and I think that's beautiful because we really connect, and I act also as a bridge between the West and the Middle East, especially for women. I think we connect the best in person over food. If we sit together at a table, we break bread together, we eat, we become happy, stomach full, that's how you really get to know each other, right? I mean, maybe it's also because I've been living in Dubai for 10 years and I got Arabized, and I just enjoy this way of getting to know each other and really truly connecting. Your Excellency, I'd like to go back to you, and having heard the stories right now, I just really ask myself, and I would love for you to share, how did the leadership manage to get the youth so excited about the Vision 2030 that they returned back home? What could other countries, and especially Western countries, being German, I'd love to understand, how could we learn from Saudi Arabia on what you have achieved, on how you have positioned yourself, bringing your brains back to the country, being excited, all almost uniformly standing behind the Vision 2030. What is your secret?
That's a very difficult question. So let me see what I can
That's
say.
why I'm asking you.
I would say it's caring. You have to love your people, and you have to love your country, and you have to care about what their future looks like. That's important, and we have this, thank God. And number 2, communicate. You have to know what your people, especially your young, want. You have to know their hopes, their dreams, their ambitions in order to work on setting the stage for them to realize this. And we have been blessed that the architect of Vision 2030 is of that generation. A young man who looked at the future and said, how can I move my country to a higher level, and how can I empower my people to move to this higher level, and how can I energize and excite the young people in the future of our country, our young, to be partners in this in order to move our country to a higher level. So caring, communicating, and then the rest is details. The rest is, what does it need? You have to be serious. And by serious, I mean, you don't say, I'm going to build the biggest bridge, or I'm going to build the biggest I don't know what. No, you look at a 360-degree perspective and you say, what does it need? What do we need? I mentioned the issues about transparency and government and efficiency and opening up new areas for investment and empowering and all of this. That's fine. But then the other aspects of it that we just talked about, quality of life, happiness, health. How do we increase the life expectancy of Saudi people? They need to live healthier life. They need to eat better. They need to exercise. How do we get them to do this? We build attractive parks. We give them opportunity to do this. We bring in world-class athletes who can empower and inspire young people to go and kick a football, to go and row, to go and climb mountains. They're not going to kick a football because they see me kicking one, but they will when they see Ronaldo. And this applies to all other sports. So you go piece by piece, music, entertainment, and you encourage your own Saudis to excel, whether it's in cooking, whether it's in sports, whether it's in arts, whether it's in fashion, whether it's in science, whether it's in engineering, whether it's in technology, and you let all the cylinders run full speed ahead, and you provide them with the environment that allows them to do what they do best, because they know where they want to go, and they're motivated to go there, and you have to set the stage and be their partner and be their enabler. I think this is why we have succeeded. The approach was not, we know what you need to do and here's what you do. That doesn't work. The approach is, you know what's best, and you know how you can get forward. What do we need to do in order to enable you to get there? What can other governments do? I wouldn't be presumptuous as to tell other governments how to manage their affairs. But I can tell you that in Saudi Arabia, go back to my original point. Number one, caring. And number two, communicating. Understanding what motivates people and understanding and translating that into concrete actions, serious, genuine actions that allow the unleashing of this potential. And we see the results now in Saudi Arabia. And I would I'm not a betting man, but I would wager that we have just scratched the surface in terms of where Saudi Arabia is going and where our youth are taking us. And I think the future is very, very exciting for our nation because of the excitement and energy and vision and determination and hard work of our youth.
Well, if that's only scratching the surface, I can't wait to see what's next. Because that's already so inspiring. And I really hope this is recorded, because I think that could be a great masterclass for many governments worldwide, even if you say you're not. But listening to you people, truly listening and hearing what they're saying, and giving the youth so much empowerment to show them you matter, we want to listen to you, want to do what you do. And you made a very important point. The key point here is communicating. So I'd like to turn to you three. You know, as Saudi youth, you're actively shaping the future. How can your stories and achievements be effectively communicated to inspire and mobilize youth worldwide? How can your narrative be carried forward to big global stages on which you're speaking already? You and Davos, speaking to the leaders. So what else could you do or will do going forward?
Thank you very much, and thank you, Your Excellency, for introducing this topic of the future, what's happening after Vision 30, and thank you for putting your trust in us youth. And I have to say that yes, we are going to make way bigger advancements in our fields. Just from the field of science and technology, I can give a glimpse into what I believe is going to happen in the future and where we're going to take all of this innovation. So right now, what's happening in science and engineering and medicine here in Saudi Arabia is we're increasing our global competitiveness in research, development, and innovation. We're localizing R&D and we're localizing our innovations. But what's happening right now is we're also building the capacity and the human capital in order to localize manufacturing of these Saudi-grown ideas, innovations, patents. So we're going to have the capability to take those innovations, ideas, research and development, and turn them into economically beneficial products that also serve humanity. And I can give one example as to how we're doing that. KAUS is now my university, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. We're partnering with various institutions and various universities, one of which is the Silicon Valley of China. If you've heard of it, it's Shenzhen. It's the third largest city in China. And they've had this ability to create an ecosystem that's conducive of innovation, technology, but also manufacturing. And what's really beautiful to see is we're actually welcoming the first cohort of students or aspiring entrepreneurs that have come back from a Shentech boot camp. So they've gone over to Shenzhen and they've learned all of these skills in terms of business, in terms of entrepreneurship, leadership, and how can they take these technologies and make them into products that serve us and serve the community and serve humanity. So it's really wonderful to see that, and I really hope we can live up to all of your expectations.
And more.
And more.
And more, and you are already.
No doubt.
Thank you very much.
And you're bringing interns globally to the lab. Maybe you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to say that. Well, in my lab right now, we're about 12. So I have some PhD students, postdoctoral students, and we have them from all over the world, from Eastern Asia to South America. And I also have Saudi students that I'm very proud of. A lot of them are entrepreneurs by nature. And we're bringing in interns, actually. So we're not just, creating the next, set of scientists and engineers, but we're also bringing in some ideas. We're collaborating, and we truly believe in that. Innovation really happens through interdisciplinary research, through intergenerational conversation, and across international borders. So we've got some interns from the UK right now, and we hope that they go back and spread the word about how beautiful Saudi is and what we're doing.
Hussein, what about you? How are you spreading this message and this narrative into the world?
I think I echo a lot of what Dana said. A lot of it can be sort of mirrored to the sports world. Going forward, as an athlete, the most important thing for, say, young athletes is confidence in the system. And this can be broken down in terms of opportunity, the availability of opportunity, and the availability of the support. So currently, our Minister of Sports, Prince Abdulaziz, with the support of His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, they're creating the right conditions currently in the kingdom to support opportunity in sports. For example, the number of federations in 2015 was 32, but today it's 97. You have grassroots sporting competitions like the Saudi Games that had thousands of participants. Also, you have the Federation Transformation Program, which is a 1.6 billion riyal fund injected into federations based on certain KPIs. And finally, you have, in the elite sports world, you have the Saudi Olympic Training Center, which essentially meets all the needs of elite athletes representing the kingdom. So as an athlete going forward, this enables you to sort of have peace of mind committing to being an athlete long term and sort of bypassing, say, other opportunities in other fields. So the peace of mind for athletes is extremely important. What I would personally like to see more of, and it's something we are working on, is an increase in the level of competitiveness, organic competitiveness, between schools and universities. So if you look at the strongest sporting countries in the world, let's say, for example, the US and the UK, historically they have a very strong sort of sporting culture in between schools and universities, so that by the time students graduate, they're already world-class athletes with minimal public funding. So this is something that we hope to achieve very soon. There are programs in place today that tackle this exact initiative, so it's really exciting, and hopefully we'll be able to show those results very soon.
Very good, exciting. Hussein, what about you? I know you went to India, you represented the Saudi youth. Can you tell us a little bit more, maybe some more personal stories? How do you really bring this narrative? How can we change, mindsets? How can we get more people to come to Saudi and see for themselves? What do you do in that respect?
Sure. I think before going to India and speaking about the future, I'd love to speak more about the past, right? So my grandfather was actually a sheep herder in the northern side of in Saudi, in the desert. And my father was his only child that he sent to Riyadh back in the 80s to actually study civil engineering at the time and become the first Saudi engineer in the northern region of Saudi. If you go back 4 years from today, and I would have said that I will be here today speaking with Davos, who's with Your Excellency, with such great talents that we have, people would really question my intellect and ability. Today, last week, I got my first boy. And I think with that, I believe I have very, very, very positive outlook for the future. And the amount of support, enablement that we are getting, as His Excellency has mentioned, from Saudi, it's something that is unheard of, I think, both in Saudi Arabia and even globally. Our leadership had provided us with all the support, enablement, and mentoring for us to actually prosper, flourish, and contribute not only to Saudi Arabia, but actually to the entire world. And however, maybe as Saudis, I think some of the great values that we have that we do not take no for an answer, right? We do not have any excuse not to think big and act now, right? We're fulfilled by the success of the outcome of our own actions, and mainly maybe not the outcome that's directly linked to us, but rather the outcome of us handing or extending hand to somebody that might need it. And with that, I think the future where I see is that people are giving much more than they're taking for them to actually enable someone else to give back to their community, to their nation, and the entire world. So if we speak now about India, I think last year when we went to India, during the Y20, if you go to COP28, if you go to Davos, two main agendas or priorities that we as Saudis or youth actually prioritize. One, of course, is to advocate for the agenda of the Saudi youth, of the Saudi people, to make sure that whatever they're having as priorities actually coming up in the policies and the recommendations. But equally as important, I think, is actually presenting the Saudi values, presenting how the voice of reason that we have during these discussions, and maintaining very good relationship. We've had endless discussions and debates and negotiations a lot, and disagreements about a lot of the other policies that are being advocated. Yet, we have maintained a very positive relationship with all the other delegates. As a matter of fact, since last August, as an example, we've been meeting on a quarterly basis, way beyond the Y20 and the G20, just for us to connect at a personal level and see how much collaboration we can do as Saudis with the rest of the world, the youngest generation of the world, to actually move the world forward. And I believe that is who we are as Saudis, and that's the narrative that we try to bring to the table.
You made a very important point. You really have to know your past in order to know where you're going. You need to know what are your roots. You know, we need to remember our ancestors, you know, why we're here. In fact, we are the ancestors of our future. So what kind of future are we leaving behind is really important. We only have time, well, I think we only have 5 minutes left, so this is going to be a little bit of a quicker round. But Your Excellency, I'd like to hear from you, what is your vision of the future beyond 2030, especially with the youth, and how can they carry the narrative even further? How can we bring more people on the side of Saudi, open up their minds, and really get them to come and see for themselves? What happens? 2030 is in 6 years from now already, so that's already present almost. What is the future? Where are we going next after this?
I think we've already made a big impression on the world. It's still very, very small compared to the impression that we'll be making going forward, because it's like a snowball. It will keep expanding. I think the message to the world, and I think the determination on our part is good is not good enough. Exceptional is what we want to be, and exceptional is what we are, and exceptional is what we will achieve. We will connect with the world, and we will have the world connect with us. And we will not work with the world on reaching standards. We will set standards for the world, and we will set exceptional standards for the world, and we will be positive, contributing members of the global community, meeting challenges, whether it's climate change, whether it's health, whether it's economic opportunity, whether it's innovation, whether it's science. We want to be at the forefront of this, and we want to contribute to the advancement of humanity. And the biggest resource that we have are the people sitting in front of you and next to me. And they will drive our country to the future, and they will leave an incredibly positive mark, not only on Saudi Arabia, but also on the world. And I think the key word is exceptionalism, exceptional. So this is the future of Saudi Arabia. And I think the Vision 2030 is a first step. There will be another leap forward.
Beautiful, exceptional. Dana, what would be your closing remarks? What would you like those people here in the room walk out with and remember?
Thank you very much. I mean, how I'd like to conclude is kind of telling you what motivates me to go to work every day. And that's basically working with youth that not only are empowered and inspired to generate innovative solutions to global problems, but also working with youth that want to make sure that their solutions lead to a society that is equitable, that is healthy, that is also sustainable. And so that's really what I care about, and that's exactly what I see every day in Saudi. So I invite you all to, you know, if there's some scientists here, come and intern in our labs, collaborate with us, partner with us, and hopefully that could lead to innovative solutions to tackle all of our global problems. That's what I would say.
Wonderful. Hussein, athletes are very often role models for young people. What is your inspirational closing remark?
I think the Saudi rowing story will tell you not to be intimidated by what is seemingly impossible. As you kindly mentioned, you know, if we can bring rowing to the largest country in the world without a natural river, then all you have to do is grab your metaphorical oar and power through to your most ambitious goals.
Beautiful. Salim.
Well, I think my message to myself and my little kid Muhammad, before the message to everyone, is that governments and NGOs can provide you so much, right? But the only barrier between you and your success is actually yourself, right? You are accountable for what you become 50 years from now. You are the one who's writing your own destiny. So for you to have that, you need to start now, you need to think big and act now for you to have a very successful future.
Well, as you heard, the butterfly effect in Saudi is happening already. The youth is inspired, empowered. We are challenging the conventional beliefs. We are eradicating this fear of otherness by bringing Saudi closer to you. I really urge you once again to go visit. I loved what you said about truly listening, hearing, caring about your people. I think that is such an important message for all of us to remember. Exceptional, knowing where you come from, believing in yourself. A story you mentioned about self-esteem, and really bring people, optimize the quality of life. And of course, science, that's where we're going. That's the technology, emerging technologies coming from that. That's the future. So thank you so much. It was such a wonderful conversation. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you.